I've talked to experts in really big companies, like the P&Gs and the Unilevers of this world.
Mm-hmm.
They don't publish these figures, but they reckon that the same ad in the same week, no one needs to see it more than twice.
Okay, so this is another thing that just popped in my head that I've been reading Ogilvy's books lately, and they're so fascinating. I honestly think, I mean, maybe other people already know this, but like, because he talks about Ehrenberg all the time. I think it's the same Ehrenberg from Ehrenberg Bass Institute.
Yeah, as in Byron Sharp's Institute. Yeah.
So in one of his books, there's a quote from Ogilvy saying the market isn't a standing army, meaning it's not a single group of people that are standing waiting for orders to buy. He says they're more of like a marching parade or passing parade.
Yeah.
And so I think, kind of going back to the frequency thing that you were just talking about, I think about that all the time, because it's this group of people there's people that are buying now, sure, but that's a smaller subset of everybody that could be your customer.
Yeah.
And so restricting the frequency, as you said, if you see an ad, and depending on the buying cycles of the product and all those kind of things, if you see, like as you were saying, 100 of the same ad in a month period, but your buying cycle is 1 month, like you probably don't need more than one a week, maybe, just as a reminder.
Exactly, and that's the thinking. I mean, that's probably why the people from packaged goods companies think, well, how often do people buy, from a supermarket? Once or twice a week,
mm-hmm.
right? So if they see an ad a couple of times a week, it's going to be very recent, isn't it, for them
mm-hmm.
to go and buy? So the short-term effect, it doesn't require more than that.
Mm-hmm. So this is a bit of a maybe. I don't know. I might be opening a can of worms here, but I don't know. But are we talking about like the long and short of it then? Like, is that what was happening, where you got so much thought into like high frequency, or maybe it's just not knowing how much frequency you're delivering, and that you're trying to capture all those sales today and sort of forego that idea of like this people buying tomorrow?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, it's if you've got a finite budget, you've got to figure out how to deploy that, right? And the long and the short of it talks, which is a fantastic paper, obviously, talks about how much do you want to deploy to just generally increase predisposition towards the brand.
Mm-hmm.
It means that you may not be buying now, but when you come to need it, are you more likely to?
Mm-hmm.
But we know it's often not enough to secure sales, because it may not be as fresh in your mind as it could be. But the combination of that kind of advertising and then some kind of advertising that's very close to the point of sale,
mm-hmm.
physically close or close in time.
Right.
And I'm talking it's like paid search advertising or posters very close to the supermarket,
right.
Outside the supermarket. These are good trigger points that can help you, capitalize on that brand building.
Mm-hmm.
It reawakens those memories that you've built over
mm-hmm.
the long week. And so that's why I it's important to think about both. And again, there's a metaphor in the book about soccer, where you've got a midfielder who puts the ball, which is the brand building,
mm-hmm.
puts the vicinity of the goal,
right?
And activation media, which is close to the goal, heads it in, closes the sale,
right?
That's why I think the combination of those two, and probably why multimedia campaigns are one of the reasons anyway that multimedia campaigns are more effective than single media campaigns, is that there are these complementary roles.
Mm-hmm.
You need the both. The both is a very powerful combination.
Yeah. My head's spinning right now because I have so many other things.
Yeah, because we talked about a lot of different concepts here.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. So, maybe just to try and tie up the ad exposure response curve. So, is there like a best practice? I know everybody, I hate talking about best practices because I get so frustrated by them, but is there such a thing as a best practice? I mean, or is it just as simple as you said that you got to have both brand building and activation?
There are principles like, I think there's again, it all depends, doesn't it? If there's strong seasonality in when sales happen in your category, right? If there isn't, then it makes sense to spread out your spend as much as you can.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a very strong argument from the way that memory works, which is, if it's like cramming. If you have a big burst of high frequency at one point in time and have nothing for the rest of the year, we'll forget you quite quickly. And then, if you have advertising spaced at 4 blocks across the year, every quarter, that will help build your memory much more efficiently, because that's how the memory works. It works well off repetition and a gap.
Right.
Learning and a gap, learning and a gap. There's loads of evidence that is a more efficient way of building long-term memories. So if you want to build long-term sales through advertising memories, don't concentrate it in one block. Spread it. And people worry, don't they? They say, oh, but if you spend too little, it won't cut through. There's not a lot of evidence that that's true, actually. It's more the measurement is harder because the uplifts are smaller, but there's not a lot of evidence that it's actually not working. And actually, long term, it's much better. So it's more that we've got these principles. Don't spend much in a week within one channel. Don't have more than 2 exposures in a week is an example of that kind of principle. If you got your budget, don't blow it all in 1 month or 2 months. Spread it across the. It's more to the point where you've got a set of principles, and therefore that will help you with your media plan. But there's no rule of thumb. There aren't any rules of thumb that really work yet, in my opinion, anyway.